I'm Nikki Moore, author by the sea. I live in beautiful Dorset and I'm published by HarperCollins, most notably the Love London series. I also write under the pen name of Ella Albright, and my book The Charm Bracelet is coming out in August with HarperCollins, so very exciting. Thanks for joining me on the vlog today. I'm going to talk about finding inspiration. In other words, where do ideas for books come from? But before I do that, I feel like it wouldn't be right to not mention some really sad news that broke over the weekend and that lots of people have been talking about, and that is obviously Caroline Flack choosing to take her own life. She's obviously been under an immense amount of pressure and scrutiny in terms of things that happened in her personal and professional life, and it is really, really sad for her friends and her family that this has happened. And I know there's been a movement on Twitter. I think there's a Be Kind hashtag being used, and I do think that's really important. I did talk about social media a few weeks ago and about tagging authors in bad reviews and thinking about what you're saying, because there's a person behind that, behind the book. And I guess maybe I didn't say it as succinctly during that vlog, but I guess what I was trying to say was, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And that's something that I live by. It's a personal value of mine. I think it's been a massive learning for people that Caroline Flack, because of the scrutiny she was under and the things that have been said about her, I'm sure there were other things as well, but she felt like she had no option to do what she did. Saying that, I just think that we need to also think about the fact that there are many people who may have taken their own lives, that aren't celebrities, it's not publicised, but their lives are just as important. So I guess we never know what's going on for people around us or what might be happening under the surface, and we should think about being kind to each other always. Thank you for bearing with me while I talked about that. So in terms of finding inspiration for book ideas, it's something that I hear a lot of people get asked at author interviews. It's something that I get asked myself a lot, so I thought it would be an interesting concept to explore today. I'm one of those people who I have bags of ideas, and if anything, my issue is that I have so many ideas for books floating around my head I can find it difficult to focus. But in terms of where my ideas come from, I'm an extrovert, so I love people. I love meeting people and talking to them and learning from them and about them, and I love sharing my insights as well. So I think it's natural for me that as an extrovert, my book ideas come from the world around me. And I always think about it as a kind of a collage. So it's a collage of kind of insights and experiences and observations, and it kind of slowly weaves together until it becomes a succinct book idea. My collage is made up of things like songs. So I think every singer or artist is a storyteller, and I was watching Miss Americana, which is the Taylor Swift documentary, over the weekend, and it was fascinating for a number of reasons, one of which was around how she felt when she was younger, about her body confidence and the pressure that was put upon her, but it was also basically about how she found her voice and able to have more political messages in her songs. But also it was a bit about the creative writing process, that her and the producer sit in the studio together and think up melodies, and then she's thinking about things like social commentary, things that have happened to her personally, and she's creating verses and lyrics. So yeah, really interesting. If you get a chance to watch it, have a look. I would never listen to a song and kind of take that idea in its entirety and go, that's my new book idea. Rather, what songs provide for me are kind of that spark of creativity, that first kind of spark of light, in terms of there might just be one line that makes me think of something, and then I think, well, what if that happened to someone, and then what if X, Y, and Z happened? So, there's no copyright on ideas or on titles, but I would never want to take something that's someone's creation, use the whole thing to build a story around it. But it's just that kind of initial, what if? And it's the same for me with films and TV series. I might be watching something and a character might just say something and I think, that's interesting. What if? And again, it's having that initial spark of creativity, of just a little nugget of an idea that then I can expand. I can think about the character and what might that lead to in the plot, and what might that person do in that situation. For me, it's also about the world around me in terms of people. So I can be sat on a train or getting a coffee, and I hear people talk, and I'm not going to sit there and eavesdrop into the whole conversation and then write it down word for word and build a book around it. But it might just be that there's a certain topic they're talking about, or they're talking about a friend and they just say one thing. And again, for me, I just think, oh, that's a really interesting idea. I wonder, you know, and what if? So the people around me, definitely. And then also my own life experiences. So I'm really careful when I write. When I write fiction, it's never going to be autobiographical. I'm, you know, very aware of, I don't want to get sued. I don't write about the people around me. But naturally, in every character I've ever created, whilst they're outside of me and they're three-dimensional in their own right, you know, of course there's a piece of them in you because you know, you've created them. And there is usually a piece of me in every character. It might just be a quirk or just a strongly held belief or a book that they like, just something small, but it's there. So, you know, in that way also, my characters, you know, there might be a quirk of someone that I know, someone that I like, a friend of mine, something that they've said. And I usually kind of tell them, I say, oh, you know, I've kind of referred to you in this way, or in the Love London series, a couple of my different friends are secondary characters and they absolutely loved having cameos, but I obviously checked with them first. And I was very careful about what I kind of wrote them doing. But also life experience. So, you know, I was seriously ill about 10, 11 years ago now. And when you're seriously ill and you've been ill for a year and it takes them that year to diagnose you, and then you have to have surgery and it's major surgery, and your consultant's saying, I'm not sure if you'll make it off the table alive, that's a real wake-up call in terms of your dreams and your ambitions and what you want to do. And when I was recovering from that illness, I was riding my bike one day and I was thinking, you know, if I hadn't made it, if I wasn't going to be fixed by that consultant, you know, if I hadn't had the operation, what would my bucket list have been? From that grew the idea for the book that I'm writing at the moment with my agent Hattie. So, you know, there are some things that have happened to me in real life that just, I'm not going to write about something that's happened to me exactly, unless it was going to be, you know, a work of non-fiction. But it's just that creative spark and that bit of energy that gives me, you know, the idea. And books as well, you know, again, I'm really, really careful when I read a book that I don't start emulating that person's voice when I'm doing my, you know, my own writing. And I would never again, you know, take an idea of someone's book and use it as my own. But it might be, again, that one character in a book that I'm reading says one thing that sparks an idea. Or it might be that there's a theme in that book, so I think, oh, you know, actually I'd quite like to explore that theme. So if you're Facebook friends with me, you might have seen the other day that I was talking about, whilst I've been writing you know, trying to do a chapter a day of this new work in progress, which is commercial women's fiction, like the Charm Bracelet. I've had this idea nagging at the back of my mind, which is a psychological thriller. I ended up thinking up the title while I was on a dog walk, pretty much the opening while I was on the dog walk, kind of wrote it down that evening, and then I ended up writing a 1,300 word opening chapter. And that had kind of coalesced, that there was a book I read about, I think it was maybe a police procedural about someone being stalked. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea if this happened to this person? And stalking was involved, but I don't want to give away any spoilers. But what if it was this person and not that person? And what if this person was in this situation? And then when I started writing it, completely unplanned, it was like, oh, actually, and what if this happens around a girl who's a twin? So she's got a twin sister. And I hadn't even connected in my head until I spent time with my friends the other day. That, you know, some of my best friends are a set of twins. So I'm going to talk to them about that, and, you know, kind of maybe do some research with them around what it's like to be a twin, because it's not something I've personally experienced. But yeah, it's just that, you know, to kind of illustrate that as an author, a lot of my ideas come from the world around me. And in terms of how I give voice to those ideas, you know, it comes through the narrative and the description of settings, but it's the dialogue between characters. And, you know, that's what I was talking about last week, the vlog and characterisation, about making these people real people that readers want to spend time with. So yeah, you know, my inspiration comes from the world around me, and it's also things like visuals, so photographs of places that, you know, I've never been that I wish I could, or with the current work in progress, again, some of it's set in Italy, and I've roughly used a road trip I went on with my fiance a couple of summers ago, and so on my storyboard that's on the other wall in this office, there are photographs up of some of the places that we visited, like Sorrento and Florence. And the reason I say Florence like that is because my mum is French, so nothing is ever Florence, it's Florence. But slight digression there. You can see my kind of Italian-French roots coming through. Anyway, I hope that's been useful for you today. As I said, I think ideas, you know, there are a collage of things that come together into one kind of focused piece that, you know, then become the basis for a book idea. So if you're struggling to write a story, then I would say to you, you know, yes, you have to sit at home on your own quietly and write, you know, bum on seat, fingers and keyboard. I'm always saying write the damn book. But when you're starting off and looking for inspiration, I would say to you, you know, lift your head up and actually look at the world around you. Because, you know, there are some great things to see and some great people and some great ideas out there. So I hope that's helped and been interesting. I look forward to seeing you next week, and my cover reveals next week for charm bracelets, so I'm really excited. Have a safe week. Storm Dennis has been quite brutal to a lot of people. So yeah, go safe out there and take care. Bye.